Hi everyone, and welcome back to Be Brave, Be You. With me is Jacqueline Romo, my very own cousin. So I'm excited to have her. I'm very proud of you, sincerely, and I'm just looking forward to whatever you're doing. And so tell me, Jacqueline, tell me a little bit about some of the things, tell me about you first. So you graduated from Dominican University. You're going for your master's now. What's your master's on?
So I started at Dominican. I graduated with a bachelor's in graphic design, and that led me to pursue a master's in theology, specifically in Hispanic theology.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really hard, but it's a challenge, and I guess that's why we're also here to talk about going through something that's uncomfortable, but also, overcoming it.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your history. So, what were some of those challenges that you faced? What made you become like an advocate for the dreamers? Because you were featured recently as I think it was one of the primary speakers at a conference, right? Your artwork is being promoted in New Mexico. At a museum.
Yeah.
This is really big stuff, and you've been coming out on different media outlets, just kind of being an advocate for dreamers. And just tell us a little bit about that. What are some of the things that you went through, and what made you to become that advocate, or search for that purpose?
I think it comes from going through the process itself. I'm undocumented, and I learned that if I didn't tell my story, I wouldn't be able to be the voice for those that don't want to tell their story. And I've learned that telling my story has gotten me in different places in life. So I think that it was worth it, and not just sharing the story because of where you want to go, but it's that sharing that kind of brings in or ties you in with the people around you, whether they're in the same situation or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was that point in life when you said, okay, that's something that I really want to do something about this? What was that point in life where you felt the need to be, of help to others in that area?
I think I want to say it was in high school when we had our first Dreamers Club, and in high school, and it was about 9 of us.
Oh, Dreamers Club?
Yeah, it was a Dreamers Club. That's what we called it. We didn't know what else to call it.
Oh, okay.
And so a lot of the people around me, I didn't know were also undocumented, and they never wanted to tell their stories on it. So when I was, I guess, brave enough to tell my story, I saw that it was beneficial for them because it was a weight that they were carrying. Which they didn't need to, because it was just fear. Yeah. So I think that's when I saw that telling my story gave the other students or the other people like me power in their voice, and that's when I kept doing it so that they can see that it wasn't really anything bad.
Okay. So were you kind of like the organizer of that, or was it like a group of people coming together all of a sudden and saying, hey, I share kind of the same story as you, let's do something about it?
It was a little bit of both. A lot of it was helped through the school, but I think the school also had the support that maybe me and a few other students had the strength to step up in the group itself and talk about things or bring in information, because we were applying for scholarships and we were meeting other students. We went to a college event where they told their stories, and it was just putting yourself out there, but also with precaution, because we couldn't really do that. And I mean, many students still don't.
Yeah. Okay. So when you created that club, and what happened next after that for Jackie? Like what else did you do after that?
Well, I moved on to I graduated from high school, and then I went on for community college, and I got a scholarship to go to a full 4-year college university, and I was lucky enough to go to Dominican. Dominican has always been very open about undocumented students and accepting them and being a sanctuary campus. And so when in there, I met other students that they were either skeptical to kind of tell their story or say, hey, I'm also undocumented. So whenever people, like if professors or other university member staff or faculty knew that I was undocumented, they were a little more comfortable in asking me, hey, do you want to share a little bit about this to this person, or do you want to be a part of this event, and we can share more on this and advocate on the issue, especially because Dominican has publicly shared that they're really open about helping the undocumented student population.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And tell me of a time as an undocumented person, first of all, that a challenge that was very uncomfortable, where you said, wow, I have to be a voice for other people. What was that kind of moment? Or, what are some of those challenges that you've been through as an undocumented person? Just to kind of make our audience aware of some of the challenges that you face, that we might not, we might be blissful about it. Mm-hmm. We don't know. What are some of the things that you faced?
I think the most, one of the things that I wasn't really aware of while I was being open about sharing my story, it was when people came to me after, when I talked about my experience of sharing my story publicly, they said, why do you do that? Aren't you scared? Aren't you afraid that something may happen legally or whatever? Mm-hmm. And they would try and instill some kind of fear, even after you have already done this courageous or whatever act, telling your story of something so private. But it was that, like, kind of almost overcoming the fear after doing something that you already, it was already out there. And I think it was realizing that you could run a risk, because it's not always easy to tell your status to other people, but it was totally worth it because of what you got out of it.
So what are some of those things that you got out of it? You got a scholarship out of it, right?
Yeah, I was, because of my either involvements or my voice, more people knew about who I was and what I was saying or telling my story, and that's what made my skills or it just fed into my personal profile that made me the person suitable for a scholarship.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So to all of my young ladies that are watching, speak out your voice. Don't be afraid to be yourself and to be an advocate for yourself and for others, because you never know what you could get out of it. She got a scholarship out of it. She's motivating other people to not be afraid about the idea of being an undocumented person, being a dreamer. You gotta fight for what you want. Be brave enough to kind of get out there. So that's what I really admire that you're doing. Tell me some of those. Tell me a little bit about your exhibit. And Jackie. To our audience, Jackie's an advocate for dreamers, not only with her stories, but through her art. That's her thing. She does art. She's an advocate for, just kind of showing the story of undocumented people through art. So one of your, I think, projects, right, at school, was to put together something that kind of shared that experience of undocumented people, right? And now her artwork is being showcased at a museum in New Mexico. Now, this is not any museum, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
It was my senior thesis project, and it was a project that, since I'm a graphic design major, and I had just started, while I was an undergrad, I started my master's program in theology. So I was currently taking a class on how to read the Bible in Spanglish. And I had to think about a way to combine both things, since that's the reason why I started studying theology. I had been trying to figure out what are ways in which I can combine my design process with also theologizing. So my idea came up, well, I'm going to start with the Bible. How am I going to depict the Bible? The Bible already has many images, many stories, and back then they were before the whole printing process, now very modern, we had printing presses and wood block carvings, and I'm talking years ago. And so I wanted to do that, but in a very modern way.
Okay.
And I started with linoleum blocks, which it's like a rubber kind of material, and carving tools. And I started, carving. I had done that before, but I wanted to do something out of it this time. So I chose to. I didn't want to I couldn't do the whole Bible. I couldn't draw out the whole Bible, so I had to choose a section of the Bible. And my senior project was going to be showcased on Palm Sunday. And Palm Sunday, since I'm a Catholic, I know that on Palm Sunday they read out the Passion of Christ. So it was the perfect fit. I chose the Stations of the Cross. Okay. And so that's how I started off. And there's 14 stations. And initially I was going to do 14 stations. I carved out 14 different stations, but I'm also not forgetting the fact that I'm studying Hispanic theology and my background as an undocumented immigrant here in the United States. So what I ended up doing is depicting the journey of an immigrant from the border.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, and kind of making that to reflect the whole journey of Jesus Christ.
Right. So Jesus as the immigrant, but not the face of Jesus. It was the face of a butterfly, which the butterfly then symbolizes in the immigrant community, the monarch butterfly specifically, the struggles and the ability for the migration of the butterfly to come through.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came through about using the butterfly as a symbol of Jesus, the immigrant, and the migration.
Yes. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
And so hopefully, maybe after the video, we can show in the picture of something. Yeah. I think we should
definitely, showcase that picture to everyone, because it's really awesome. And tell me a little bit about the museum. The museum is
yes.
What type of museum is it?
So my first piece, my actual thesis piece, since they're linoleum carvings, I can print them over and over again as many times as I want. That's one of the reasons why the Bible is printed so fast too.
Okay.
But that's why I also chose it. So the first set of the panels that I did were sold, and they're permanently stationed in Dominican, in the permanent collection of Dominican University. Oh. So that's the first set. And so when I got the opportunity to submit my artwork into this museum, it's a place in New Mexico. It's a monastery in Albuquerque, and in the chapel they have my artwork displayed, and it's also permanent there too. It's not really a museum, but it is, because they do this art show every year.
Okay.
Yeah, and this art show was called I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. What is Holiness?
Okay.
Yeah, and so my artwork, because of the recent, political and things that have been going out, it was very, very true and very real.
Very kind of timing, a good timing.
A good timing in the place where it was, and many people who come through this monastery either are migrants or have worked with migrants. Yeah, especially through the Catholic charities or.
And so you, after that got displayed, you actually were called into a conference, right? What was that conference about?
It was more of an event that was led by my colleagues at Dominican, and it was a student-led program evening that showcased artwork that was related to immigrants, that was made by immigrants, and student immigrants and student work. And people came in and we talked about what it was like to be undocumented. And it was mainly to promote the student body that's already there and the presence that's there at Dominican, but also to raise funds for the emergency fund that we have been working on for about over a year.
Oh, yeah. Wow. For undocumented students.
Yeah, so it would be an emergency fund if a student needed to renew their DACA and they were going through really tough times, or maybe pay a class or something like that.
So what advice would you have for those, specifically more for like young women that are undocumented, that are struggling, that are afraid to kind of be that voice? What would you tell them?
I think I would tell them that you shouldn't be afraid, but identify the person that makes you comfortable in an uncomfortable situation so that you know who to count on, but also think about yourself as that person too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So what are your big next steps for you, Jackie? What are you like envisioning for your future?
Well,
I know you do a lot of artwork and
Yeah.
that's one of your passions, but you also like theology a lot.
Yeah.
What are your next big steps, or what's your vision for your future?
Well, for sure, I do want to continue on my master's. It'll take me some time because I'm going little by little, but I want to enjoy it as much as I want to make art along with it. So if I know I'm learning an aspect of theology or certain subjects that call my attention, I would like to parallel it with art, which will take time to kind of develop. But I think it's just a work in progress and finding different techniques to make art, but also match it with what I'm learning and what I'm doing and what I actually believe in.
Yeah. So, guys, Jackie was a part of one of the youth leaders in a program back when you were in what, high school? Or no, what was it?
It was
Even
before high
earlier,
school.
Before
Yeah.
high school.
It was eighth
And
grade.
so
Yeah.
she was a part of our youth group, in our program. And do you think that was an impact for you, that that motivated you to just kind of think outside of the box, or?
For sure, I think that that program, it was a good way to find voices that had already been through the coming of age process, or if they've been talking about issues that aren't really talked about within women. So we had like you and our other cousin Lisette and other women that had the same either problems as you were when they were younger, or issues where you didn't know who to go to talk about. And I think that really did show a sense of mentorship and leadership from their part, which also motivated us to grow up and do the same thing.
That's good. That's good. So it's really important that you always think about what you feed into your minds. Dedicate time to the work that's going to help you as a person. You have to find ways that will develop yourself, both in your mind, your body, everything that will help you become you, the real you that you're supposed to be, because you're already designed to be a leader. So Jackie, just to kind of finalize everything, is there any other resources that you would recommend for people that are undocumented, that are dreamers, that want to maybe be a part of the movement? Anything that you could advise on that?
Well, for sure, if you're in any school, if you're enrolled in school, I think that would be the first place to see or to ask maybe professors or other people that you've heard maybe talk about situations, or be aware of events where you can identify a person that has been in the move and then just join them. And I'm pretty sure they'll be grateful, because the more the merrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you never know what it could result
Right.
in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you feel that it's created some opportunities even in the work area for you?
Oh, of course, yeah. Many.
This is something that, all these things you could put it on your resume, right?
Right, yeah. And I mean, whatever experience you have, you don't know why you're going through it at the moment, but there's always a reason for what you go through, and it'll come up, and then you'll be prepared to face that particular learning lesson in the future, and it'll be a strength.
Okay. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jackie, for your time.
Thank you, Bita, for having me.
I'm very proud of you, and I can't wait to see what other big moves
More.
you might be doing, okay?
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, guys, just a reminder, I will be hosting a Be Brave, Get Uncomfortable workshop on February 8th at 10 a.m. It's from 10 to 12 p.m. It's here in the Midway local area. It'll be at Brighton Park, Chicago Public Library. And I encourage all women of all ages to be there. The cost is very minimal. It's about $15 per person. There will be complimentary appetizers, refreshments, and a gift bag. So arrive early, reserve early, and I hope to see you there. And don't forget to like our video, put a thumbs up, and subscribe to our video channel. I'm looking forward to everyone, everyone that's going to be featured next. We have some awesome speakers coming up, so I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay, bye-bye.